So I guess we just get to hang out for 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you need
Any
us to put up
soccer
a
fans
little,
amongst you? Sorry, what?
I was gonna say, do we need to put up a little clock that says what the time really is, Brian, so that you know what it somehow? since
I have my
you've been
phone
time
in front.
traveling forward 3 minutes.
I think we'll probably open up everything maybe in like 2 minutes, so let people start to filter in, and then we will start promptly 5 minutes, so at 12 o'clock.
Sounds good to me. Any soccer fans amongst all y'all? The second leg of Champions League games are starting at 1. So that's why I scheduled this end at 12:45.
Makes sense.
And apologies, Katrina, if I seem distracted during our 101, a one-on-one, which is scheduled for right after this.
Good to know. Thanks for admitting it in advance. I love it.
No, I won't have it open during.
I was just working with some people on a Zoom the earlier hours of this morning, and most of them are on mute while I'm doing my part. And one particular one came off of mute or whatever, and you can hear the news in the background and on the TV, and I'm going, oh, seriously, is that how much I'm holding your attention, that you're actually watching the news? I fall lower than that. Oh well. It's one of the
Don't worry,
drawbacks.
we'll have a captive audience this time.
Well, one of the drawbacks of working all this virtual stuff is you don't have the control as mastering the room yourself, but also you don't have the just the dynamics of being live to
True.
pull control, not literal control, but just by the nature of your personality or the content of what you're sharing. It doesn't have the same effect of gathering people's attention.
Very true. But we can mute people.
Yep. Even if they are watching TV, at least you can turn their TV, the sound of their TV off.
Very true. So Carrie, you gonna
I'll
start
open up
letting
the
people in?
room and, yeah, we'll get started shortly.
Very cool.
Hey, Andy, I'm probably going to mention just briefly the ACRC as part of a component of our student pathway learning. I'm not going to talk about the details, but I'll just reference it because you're going to be sharing that, right?
Yeah, I figured that you might have an opportunity to bring that up. So heck yeah.
Yep. So wherever you're putting that in, I'm just going to echo back to that this is now a building block for our completers.
Great. Sounds perfect.
Sounds great. And we now have a handful of attendees joining. We'll be beginning shortly. And yeah, we'll be starting in just a minute. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. I see we have a bunch of attendees already, more continuing to trickle in. Carrie, how many do we have registered for this event? Could you remind us?
Yeah, about 100.
Love it. So this will be a packed room today, digitally speaking, that is. As we get started, just want to remind everybody about what this event is. This series, Mind the Gap, highlights the gaps current and anticipated between workforce supply and demand across Arizona. Last month, we had a workforce analysis event where we had an economic overview of the state's labor market. And today, our session will focus on best practices in accurately assessing the work readiness of job seekers by conducting inventories of aptitude, skill, and interest, and identification of any barriers to employment, and executing plans that effectively develop job preparedness. Our panelists today are Leah Palmer, the Executive Director at Arizona Advanced Manufacturing Institute based out of Mesa Community College, Nan Pham, Workforce Development Manager in IT and Cybersecurity at the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation, and Andy Ridley, Workforce Program Manager for the Arizona Career Readiness Credential at the Office of Economic Opportunity. I'll be your moderator today. I'm, if you don't know me, Brian Smith, Mission Engagement and Economic Development Manager at Goodwill of Central and Northern Arizona, also Vice Chair of AAD's Workforce Committee. I'd like to take a second to thank our sponsors, including, of course, Goodwill of Central and Northern Arizona and Local First Arizona, Rural Development Council, making this event series possible. With that, I'd like to introduce my boss, Katrina Thurman, Vice President of Mission Development at Goodwill of Central and Northern Arizona, to tell us a little bit about GCNA's programs, our history, and what the future looks like a little bit for our team.
Is that my key, Brian? It's my turn.
Yes, it is.
So it's a pleasure to be here with you and to sponsor this important series. Working on that gap is something that Goodwill has been focused on as an organization here in Arizona since 1947. And I'll go into a little bit more of our story. So Goodwills across the country are independent organizations. We are the original social venture model. So the thrift store that funds all of our community-based mission efforts. That model is take things people don't need or want anymore, resell them to somebody who does want them, and then take the proceeds from that and invest it back in the community to help people end their cycle of poverty by being able to not only enter the workforce, but then succeed in the workforce. So we've been doing that here in Arizona since 1947. Our work over the years has shifted. Many people think of Goodwill as potentially serving only people with disabilities or certain target populations. Here in Arizona, we consider our mission to be to serve any job seeker who isn't going to be able to get and keep a job on their own, that they just need either a little bit of help or a lot of help and a lot of training and anything in between. So kind of moving from 1947 to the present day, we have 7 career centers across the state of Arizona. Through those career centers, as well as an online job search and job readiness platform that we've created that's called mycareeradvisor.com. We serve about 25,000 unique individuals every year. And those individuals, they may come to us and really just need to come into a career center or visit mycareeradvisor.com and just get help with their resume. They might need a little bit of support getting ready to really have a fabulous interview experience. They might need help doing job search. But often they come in and we're noticing that there's a technical skills gap at the most basic level where people aren't familiar with how to use a mouse or how to navigate a keyboard or how to use the sort of the most basic office suite of softwares. And so we have intentionally designed a training program that we actually call Bridging the Skills Gap. So quite in line with the workforce series that you're participating in today, where we can take people from not being able to engage in the more professional side of the workforce, and then being able to actually walk in those doors or walk into the next level training program that they might be capable of engaging in. I know that my time is short, but I do want to tell you, in addition to the services we have today, about a program that we are trying to bring to the state of Arizona right now. Goodwills are really good across the country at sharing best practices with one another. And in the state of Indiana, the Goodwill there has been operating a program for 10 years that is a high school, like it's a diploma granting, real high school for adults who dropped out. Our state has 720,000 working age adults who do not have a high school diploma. That's somewhere between 12 and 14% of our workforce. And that is a huge opportunity for us as a state to take individuals and upskill them so that they're ready to engage in the workforce in the future. So what this model does is offer a high school diploma, as well as all the wraparound supports that somebody might need to stay in school and actually succeed this time. So it has job coaching, life coaching, childcare on site, transportation to and from the school. You graduate with an industry recognized credential or certificate. And you can actually have a chance to break the cycle of poverty. Having that high school diploma is what helps people move up in the workforce more than any other tool that at the most entry level that we could give them. We are working on moving this through the legislature this year. The legislative process this year in particular is quite the dance to navigate. But we are doing that. We have a lot of supporters. Many of you work for organizations that have supported this project and understand and recognize its significance. I believe in the chat, we have provided a little bit of an overview of the program. And if you're interested in helping us advocate for bringing this additional workforce development model to the state of Arizona, please reach out to me or to Brian Smith here. And I hope you all enjoy today and the rest of the series. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katrina. And yes, that document is in the chat. Looks like we might have a problem with that link, but we'll get that sorted out and sent out at least in the follow-up. If you'd like to discuss more, reach out to me or Katrina. If you don't know how to reach us, I'm sure Carrie would love to make the connection. Moving into the meat of the program, we're going to have each of the panelists tell us about your program, give us a brief overview of how you intake participants or job seekers, learners, however you refer to those that take part in your program, and assess their current skill level and aptitude for employment. So we'll start from the top left, at least on my screen, with Leah.
Hello, my name is Leah Palmer, and I am with the Arizona Manufacturing Institute at Mesa Community College. We are about 7 years in our making, and what inspired it was to find a front door, some easy navigation for both industry to find sector-driven programs, as well as for students to find where their passions and where their skills could be most effective. When Arizona Manufacturing Institute started, it was important that that we had an entire sector strategy for industry. And so we dealt with everything from enrollment, from the high schools to employment, to follow-up employment data that shows where people are being hired. So AZMI deals with welding, machining, manufacturing for automation, robotics, electrical and electronics for the Intels of the world, and also 3D printing, drafting, all of which we have industry certifications that both portably validate their skills as well as pathways for degrees and completions. So AZMI is really trying to be that one-stop shop for industry and for students to make that pathway clear.
Thank you very much, Leah. And everyone in Business Attraction that has worked on bringing advanced manufacturing to the East Valley, I'm sure has become very acquainted with AZAMI and brought clients to or the facilities there. Nan, would you like to go next?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Nan. The Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation convened 6 workforce collaboratives to address the growing skills gap facing our community. Advanced manufacturing, construction, financial services, healthcare, and for today's discussion, I'll be discussing our work in our cybersecurity and IT collaborative. We've launched several initiatives in partnership with Maricopa Community Colleges, including launching a security industry essentials preparation course to meet the demand for entry-level talent in finance, and a critical care cohort in nursing, providing internal staff to upskill in this specialty. In our cybersecurity and IT collaboratives, we've been addressing the demand for mid-tier tech talent by launching Apprenti Arizona, our tech apprenticeship program, using a time-tested model of registered apprenticeship. We use our proprietary screening process to create a quicker path to diverse, qualified, and certified tech talent, including software developers, cybersecurity analysts, IT business analysts, and more. To be eligible, applicants have to be 18 years or older, and they must be eligible to work in the United States for the duration of the program. Applicants and candidates do not need prior experience in tech to participate because we, along with our employer partners, are training you. There are 3 steps to the interview and selection process. The first step is to apply and take our assessment on our website. It covers math, logical and critical thinking, and soft skills. Applicants must score 80 or higher to be selected for consideration. As new opportunities come up, applicants will be interviewed on a first come, first served basis. If you're selected to interview, candidates will interview with the apprentice staff. If you pass this round, you will move forward into an employer interview with one or more of our hiring partners. Our hiring partners ultimately select and hire their apprentices. And then once you're selected, apprentices will then go through 2 to 5 months of technical training, dependent on the occupation, and apply what they've learned in the classroom on the job for 1 year, or a total of 2,000 hours of on-the-job training. The on-the-job training is paid and includes standard usual benefits the employer offers to their permanent full-time staff. And lastly, our program is a earn while you learn program in addition to train to retain program. So this means we work really hard to have our apprentices converted into permanent full-time staff at the end of their program. And they'll also earn national portable certifications through our work.
Thank you very much. We're very excited to learn more about Apprenti. Would you like to go next?
Yes, and thank you for having me. I'm Andy Ridley. I'm the program manager of the Arizona Career Readiness Program. This is a statewide program open to anyone, everyone, and it's a little less complicated, I hope, than anything else, and that's the beauty of it. The foundation of this came from the research done by the Arizona Commerce Authority and my office, the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Over some 70 years, a number of strategy labs assessing the wants and needs of employers in all sectors of employment, from aerospace defense to IT, to retail, and et cetera, across the board. All of those different sectors expressed interest in foundational skills that their either incumbent workers, their current employees possess, or they would wish they would possess them, or new hires. And that emphasis came out of those kind of skills that you might learn in high school or early college, but especially one feature that came out of this research was that employers were looking at what is commonly called soft skills or professional skills: the effective communication, the reliability and professionalism, the teamwork and collaboration and problem solving. So our program welcomes anyone who essentially desires to work in the state of Arizona, but there's no filter for who could enroll. Enrollment is easy. It can be done at our website, acrc.az.gov, or through one of our nearly 100 partner programs, anywhere from institutions such as MCC to Arizona at Work to nonprofits like Goodwill. And so enrollment is simple with just, declaring their interest. We can create an account for them, and that provides access to a platform online. Other entities that we work with are partners. Some of them work a live session of workshops, especially in the arena of the soft skills, the professional skills. The culminating event, though, is really what it sounded like some of the other programs have as their sort of onboarding event, and that is the assessments that determine eligibility for employment. We are bringing to the employer a certificate or a credential that validates those three principal applied academic areas: mathematics, reading for information, and locating information. And then the fourth of the professional skills each get assessed in our program. At that point, they have either passed and earned the credential, and that could complete the program for them. Or if they would like to improve their scores or they haven't passed, they could return to the learning portion of the online or in-person learning at one of our partners and retake assessments to reach a point of passing. And then the passing scores are leveled based on the outcome of the assessment. For simplicity, sometimes they get called bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, but essentially the higher the medal, the more sophisticated those skills are readily available for that potential worker. And then taking that certificate, add it to your resume or bring it to your interview to demonstrate that essentially you're ready to work.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Andy. My next question, if you could provide some detail on the skills and competencies that your program looks to develop in participants, such as, and include the curriculum or activities that they undertake to develop those skills, and how their progress is measured in your program. And Nan, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, so the skills and competencies we are developing in our apprentices is really dependent on the occupation they are practicing in. So for example, if you're in our software development program, you'll learn HTML, JavaScript, SQL databases, Python, React, object-oriented programming, and app development. In our cybersecurity analyst program, you'll learn network configuration and support, IT security fundamentals, as well as hacking, ethical hacking. And you'll also earn your CompTIA Network Plus, Security Plus, and Ethical Hacking certifications. For our IT Business Analyst program, our apprentices will learn IT Infrastructure Library, SQL databases, web fundamentals, and business-related modules. And we've outlined what apprentices will learn in all of our occupations that we offer on our website. I want to discuss that while the apprentices are earning certifications in some of our roles, along with specific programming languages, platforms, and systems, they're also learning leadership skills, teamwork, project management, and their progress can be measured through competency checklists that the mentors outline for their apprentices. So I want to clarify that when apprentices go on the job, they are assigned a mentor within the company. And this checklist ensures that apprentices are learning the work processes listed in their standards, but also in the context of the employer's specific business, culture, processes, software, equipment, and more.
Thank you. That sounds like a really comprehensive system to ensure their success through the program. And tell your family everyone at AAD says hi.
I will.
Leah, we'll kick it over to you next.
Well, thank you. This is an interesting question because one of the things at AZMI that we have done is we have taken out that set program mentality, which is this is the name of our program, this is what we teach, even though there are core competencies in each of those that are what I call living, in that they are a consistent and core piece of most manufacturing needs, such as welding and machining and some of these others. But what we really have been focusing on now is the future of work. The future of work really requires sometimes a mashup of IT skills, a mashup of manufacturing skills. Some of the programs that we have, for example, now are robotics. Robotics uses and can use a Python language, but it also needs the repairmen and the technicians that are going to repair the robotics, applications of robotics. It's going to be what the next generation of jobs will look like so that the students are prepared. We actually belong to a statewide development of a first in Arizona statewide curriculum. Employers were telling us it's so hard to find which program is actually the one that our company needs. And for you of economic development, how do you promise workforce and trained workforce when you don't know exactly where you're going to find them or what they're trained in? So what we've done is we've taken a mapping process and we look at what are the job descriptions. And if you need 100 of these because of a locate or a growth in some of your BREs, this is where you can say, these are the core competencies. We can isolate them. We can look at how and who has been taking them in the past, in the present, and how we will attract individuals for talent in the future. There's nothing more recruitable than an individual looking for a well-paying job that says, if I take this, you mean I can get employment and it's highly needed? Because manufacturing is like being behind a curtain. Sometimes people don't know what that actually means. So we have tried to remove that and say, employers, tell us exactly where you're at and we'll map that to the courses. We'll pick and choose the pieces that fit for you. We'll find the talent that's taken those courses and then we'll reintroduce those courses for the next generation of your workforce. So it is not a streamline, it is a messy and beautiful process, but it's going to help you target what you really need.
Absolutely. And we keep getting good news in our inbox from GPEC and ACA every day about more and more advanced manufacturers choosing our state for their operations, and those skill sets will continue to be in high demand. Andy, we talked a little bit about in your first section about the skills developed by participants in your program. Would you like to add anything else on the skills and competencies that they develop as they go through the credential?
Well, sure. As I already mentioned, the levels involved. When someone enrolls in our program, it's considered an at your own pace approach. And unless they are attending, for example, a workshop with a partner, they can use an online system, an online learning management system to work through at any rate they would like the curriculum or the modules of learning. And those modules are very closely aligned through, and all of this is from a professional education vendor that is, proven results from their curriculum and their assessments, but they're very closely aligned to the assessments. So as you progress through learning, for example, applied mathematics that would be appropriate in the workplace, at one level to the next, you're increasing difficulty until you reach the point where, for example, if you're competent at level 3, then you're very likely to pass the assessment at level 3, which is that bronze entry level. And then, as you progress further at whatever desired level, you can cease your progress in the learning and move straight to the assessments and determine, your outcome, earn your credential, and move forward with wherever you want to take that. the program, there's a similar program in some 30 other states. And so we have come to the table about 3 years ago and raised the bar with the program adding the professional skills. And the professional skills online curriculum is a little bit unique because it's more topical for standard topics of effective communication, collaboration, teamwork, critical thinking, problem solving, and then general professionalism like attitude and following policy and regulation and schedules and so forth, even down to the point of, are you wearing the appropriate uniform in the appropriate style or on the right day? So with those, that's not a leveled approach. It's instead just become competent in that. And so there are various modules to prepare you for the assessments there. And I would say that it's a very effective online program for the professional skills, but I always encourage, where it's available, if one of our partners is offering a workshop approach, and I understand over the last year with COVID, that's been almost non-existent, but in general, the program was designed that at least the soft skills would be taught in live sessions, because to learn interactive skills, you would most likely need to interact. And that is the highest demand of our employers, and the most difficult assessment to pass is the professional skills. Although in general, we have an excellent passing rate of about 90% of everyone that ever attempts the 4 assessments in total, 90% are earning one level or another of the ACRC.
Thank you. Now for our third question, I'll kick it back over to you, Andy. As applicable to your program and processes, how do you identify employers to work with on providing opportunities to your participants, and how do you use their feedback to continuously improve your offerings in your program?
Let me reemphasize that our program came out of a request from employers in the first place, modeled after what maybe some other states are doing, but our employers directly told us through the research of ACA and OEO that they wanted something that could, in a sense, show that that gap has been bridged. The candidate that they are hiring is ready to work, was a result of employer requests. So we have focused our first 2 years, and we've been in existence for 3 years. We focused our first 2 years on laying down the foundation for acquiring the assessment. So partnerships with other organizations that could assess. And then in our third year, we began 2020 with an outreach to employers to do, for example, what some employers are doing, and that is request the ACRC or recommend the ACRC in their posting for their applicants. And in that case, those applicants would seek out a partner or visit us online and begin the program that way and earn their credential, maybe even in a very quick fashion. If they're already competent, they could enroll and within days do the assessments. However, and we have listed on our website some many dozens of employers across the state that have recognized it and understand its purpose and would understand it as they would see it on a resume or in an interview. However, where our efforts were to be focused on the employer in 2020, we all know what happened. And having one-to-one contact with dozens and dozens more employers across the state was thwarted. So we focused our year on developing it to be a more virtual experience. Prior to 2020 June, you could only take the assessments at one of the partner organizations like Arizona at Work or a nonprofit. But as we approach the new norm, virtual life, we developed a way to proctor those assessments virtually through a session similar to what we're doing now. so that many hundreds have moved through the process. In general, there are over 7,000 people across the state in these 3 years have enrolled in the program, and many thousands of them have passed it to this point, and others are in the progress, including in other organizations like Leah's programs. Some of their programs are funded through in a fashion such that one of the requirements is they earn their ACRC in order to graduate from the program. So we're excited about the direction it's taking, but again, there's more effort to be done on having employers understand it and recognize it throughout the state.
Absolutely, and we love hearing about the resilience of your efforts through the unprecedented past year. Nan, same question for you.
Yeah, similar to Andy, we brought Apprenti to Arizona, which is actually headquartered in Washington, because our employers identify that mid-tier tech talent was the most pertinent problem that we need to solve. And so a lot of our work, we're working with our employers in our cybersecurity IT collaborative at the Chamber Foundation, but we also do a lot of outreach online to connect with engineering departments to how we use their feedback to continuously improve our program. Our program is customizable to meet the needs of the employer. So we'll help identify hiring needs in addition to identifying what skills they need their talent to have. So we'll adapt our program unique to each employer. We've implemented several systems throughout the duration of the program to ensure we're meeting the needs of both the employer and the apprentices. So we have so when they go on the job, we have a 2-month and 5-month survey for mentors and supervisors to confirm that each apprentice is meeting their technical and professional expectations. We also have a 10-month survey to determine if the apprentices should be permanently retained by the employer partner. And then through these surveys, we can identify issues ahead of time, resolve these issues, realign the program with the goal that our apprentices are retained and our employers are hiring talent with the skills they specifically need.
Thank you, Nan. Leah, same question for you.
I love this question because this is really where the rubber meets the road. Colleges can create outputs and then hope that by some luck that those trained and skilled technicians can magically end up at the right industry partner. And industry is looking to see that they're putting out job descriptions and hoping that the right talent shows up to their door and interviews. What we have found is that by having that conversation with employers, we've actually been able to see that both whether it's medical device with Banner Health or aerospace with Boeing or IT mashups with companies, for example, CMC Steel. CMC Steel is a very large company that's just about to launch a second wave of building in Mesa, an entirely addition to their plant. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to hire individuals to then come in and be supervisors. What they found is that there's not enough people with those skills that understand what it is that they need to do. So they created with us a steelmaker program. And it's so interesting because they nationally recruited individuals to come to be their next supervisors, and they're going to Mesa Community College for 30 college credits in a 4-month period, accelerated every day, being paid by the company and being educated at the same time to be their next talent pool, because they know they can't find what they need just sitting out there waiting to be hired. So what we've done is we're now training them. And by the way, we're using ACRC, Andy's product there at the ACA, And every employer, Boeing and CMC and others, are saying, yes, we want them to have these navigational skills. We want them to have these professional skills. And so this has now become a staple as part of our delivery. But back to the story with CMC Steel, that's an example of an incumbent worker and a company that needs their current workforce trained. Then you've got an attraction that now suddenly needs 100, 200. Well, we had Boeing, who's been here for quite some time, suddenly need 450 additional fabricators in electrical wiring. So together, every 2 weeks, we sat down with the Boeing supervisors and we created not only the competencies, but with national certifications and with the ability that in 9 days, these individuals would be able to step in and have lower error rates and be able to do the job better than a staffing company could ever find and then promote. And now they're trained, and it's Phoenix Logistics wants them, General Dynamics wants them. This is a core cross pollinated kind of program. It's not a Boeing program. It is a skills accelerated boot camp delivery program that helps somebody actually within 9 days be eligible for employment in a high paying job. That program is now being replicated in aerospace with Boeing for composites. And composites, you know, Ping makes composites and boats use composites and helicopter blades are with composites. So it's cross-functional across aerospace opportunities. I bring this up only because I know that that process of outputs, going out there, doing the job hunt, and magically finding the right fit and the right job is no longer going to meet the demands that are coming with the growth in manufacturing. We're going to have to be able to make it seamless, on-site interviews, and working with WIOA. All of our programs now that are short-term are in the WIOA AJC so that they can then train that workforce and we can help them with ACRC and get the job. That was a long answer to your question, Brian, but I had so much to say.
That was excellent and really comprehensive, and we love, you know, hearing all those success stories. We have a couple minutes left and are free to open it up to the audience for any questions you might have of our panelists. But while, you know, everyone's gears are turning, I'll kick this out to all three of you and want to hear what you guys have heard from employers that you've worked with in terms of the outcomes of your program and how prepared the participants in your programs are versus their other recruitment channels. Could you speak to that? Anyone that wants to talk through that?
I'll jump in really quick.
I'd like to jump in. Go ahead, Leah.
We created an internship program where we actually fund the intern. The employer does not fund the intern. We work with the management of the company. The intern goes for 160 hours and we call it Test Drive the Talent. What we found is over 95% of our technicians that take advantage of this are hired by the company. They don't want to let them go. And that means that what they learned with us made them ready for that, but that what the employer actually exposed them to made the technician want to be there and part of that culture and part of that experience. So we have found a very high rate that if employers and students can just connect, the outcomes are usually incredibly, incredibly good.
Thank you. And Andy, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. This kind of a program of a career readiness credential or certificate has been studied across the country for many years. As I said, there's some 30 states that have something. And there's been a lot of success in three major features of what interests employers, and that is streamlining the hiring and improving their retention and also improving their workers' compensation claims. And so what we discovered in Arizona is one particular employer studied this not long after we began for 1 year. And while it was a small employer, nothing like Boeing, but one small employer studied it for a whole year. Every one of their current employees or any new hires were asked to obtain the ACRC. They, at the time that they started the program, had a retention rate of 71%, meaning 29% of their employees would leave the work within the next year, and they would have to rehire, nearly a third of their workers each year, which is pertinent because hiring a new employee costs about a half a year's salary just to onboard a new employee. They found in that 1 year that their retention rate improved to 92%, which was a 21 percentage points improvement, and that's 29.5% improvement. So obviously in Arizona, similar to all the other states, those same key areas that are going to save companies thousands and even millions, depending on the size of the company, improvement in their hiring, streamlining, their retention rates, and their workers' compensation claims.
That is really impressive. Thank you for sharing that, Andy. Nan, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, so we actually piloted this program, Apprenti, about 2 years ago with Salt River Project. And they actually use our program as an upskilling program. So their Navajo Generation Station up on the Navajo Nation, they had shut that down. And part of their redeployment plan was to reskill 9 of their workers and redeploy them as IT business analysts. And because of the systems we've put in place, including the surveys, the mentorship, so each apprentice has a mentor, in addition to weekly updates and weekly check-ins with myself as the program manager and the supervisor of the apprentice program at SRP, all 9 of the apprentices were successfully upskilled into IT business analysts. We are currently doing a cybersecurity analyst apprentice program with PayPal right now. We just launched it in January, so I'll know more about how they're going later this year, and I can update anyone who's interested. I'll add my email to the chat. But one of the other things that our employers use Apprenti for is their diversity initiative. So we have a blind interview process. So after they go past the interview with our staff, we actually don't show demographics to the employer to help mitigate biases as much as possible. So they only see initials and some information based on the interview we have with them. And then it's only when they select their apprentices they're able to see their whole the full profile. So I did want to add that a lot of folks use our program as an upskilling program. They use it for their diversity and inclusion initiatives, and then also just finding new talent in a new and addition way to their current workforce strategies.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And we'll be waiting with bated breath to hear how the PayPal partnership is going. We're coming up on time, but I have one more question, more specifically focused at you, Nan. And that is, we know that the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation utilizes the talent pipeline management structure to develop your programs. Could you share a little bit about how being part of that national network helps you refine and continuously improve your program? And also quick shout out to our other series sponsor, Local First Arizona's Rural Development Council. We know that they build their collaboratives around the same structure.
Yeah, so the Talent Pipeline Management is actually a national initiative through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. And it's really a structured way in how to operate our workforce collaboratives and engage them in not just the new ways such as apprentices, but also realigning or aligning what their needs are to the education providers. And so we work with several workforce collaboratives across the country to kind of build out more workforce collaboratives in our market. And the first step is really identifying, do we need a workforce collaborative in the industry? We know, as Leah mentioned, the future of work, we know that cybersecurity and IT is current, but also the future workforce. So first we identify if there's a need. And we also highlight, I wanna highlight our workforce report. We do an annual workforce report that analyzes the labor market as well as trends. So based on that knowledge as well, we identify if there's a need. And then we identify who do we want to come on board as part of our collaborative. And we want employers from different industries. So there's employers who are in finance, who are in healthcare, because all of them have a unique perspective. And we think that it's important that all these perspectives are identified and heard through these collaboratives. And then we do surveys to identify, what their needs are, specific needs are. We do a lot of interview processes to identify that. And then we come together in our collaboratives to find solutions for the particular industry of the collaborative. So the mid-tier tech talent was one of the issues. The other pain point was that some of our folks who were coming out of education providers, they didn't have the skills that they need. So we do curriculum alignment with them as well as our education partner. And then we also just launched Elevate at AZ to which is our secondary education initiative to align curriculum early on in the talent pipeline. So at the high school level as well. So I can definitely share the link to the talent pipeline management in the chat if you're interested. I'm happy to discuss more on how you can use this framework for either your collaborative or your economic development or what have you.
That would be great. And to wrap up, Leah and Andy, would you like to add anything on sharing best practices with others across the nation?
Yes, I'll jump in, Andy. We were just highlighted by the New America Foundation as a national model for our Boeing Boot Camp. And I call it Boeing Boot Camp because it was designed with industry, for industry, regardless of the fact that it serves multiple employers. But what it is that, and we'll have something in the chat, the Boeing video will be put in the chat so that you can actually see from both Boeing and the student's perspective what that opportunity means in terms of how it changes lives. But sometimes people think that being targeted with skills or being short-term maybe means that you're not getting enough information to be successful. And what Boeing found is that the error rate after the boot camp students came in and started taking the positions instead of black badge or staffing company referrals was that their error rate went down significantly. And that means that they're prepared, they're ready to work, they're learning some of the Boeing systems, and we even have Boeing employees serving as faculty to the programs. So what I guess I want to end with is there are new models, there are working models, and one size does not fit all. So I think having nimble and flexible opportunities to tether competencies together and make it work for tomorrow's jobs is our job at the colleges today.
Thank you. Andy, anything you'd like to add?
The only thing I would add is that we work with a procured vendor called Win Learning, Win as in win the game learning. And they've received a number of accolades over the last decade and a half that I've been aware of, but I wouldn't be able to rattle them off for you at this time. But I would say it's a pleasure working with them too, because as they originally contracted with Arizona a little over 3 years ago to start our program, they have adapted their program to make it work even better for Arizona, including incorporating a Spanish version of all of the online learning and Spanish testing. So I appreciate their efforts to work with us and our needs here in the state of Arizona. So check out winlearning.com, I think it is, for any further information on their own awards that they've received.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, panelists, for joining us and sharing the information about your programs and everything good you do for growing business in Arizona and connecting individuals with opportunity. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Couldn't do this without you. Find us here next month, April 21st, same time, for the finale of this event series on workforce partnerships, where we'll be reviewing case studies of successful employer partnerships that have connected job seekers with sustainable opportunities and career pathways with local employers. Also would like to thank our sponsors, of course, pat myself on the back, Goodwill of Central and Northern Arizona, as well as Local First Arizona's Rural Development Council. Thank you again, and hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.